Medium.
Medium?
Yeah.
Sugar and cream?
Didn't you used to have a sign that said Chinatown's best coffee?
Okay, altogether 260.
Mấy người em mới? Hả? Oh, we're not going.
Yeah, while we do it. 30 minutes, okay.
To Baltimore?
Okay.
Okay, so we can come back?
Okay, we need it here.
Okay, thank you.
Off to Baltimore.
Don't get drunk in Chinatown. You'll end up on a bus to Philadelphia. In 2001, the entire world was caught by surprise by the events of 9/11. The U.S. Congress responded by very quickly passing legislation that proved to be controversial and that they later admitted that they didn't read. So the question is, now that we're in another global crisis, it's 2009, are they better prepared this time?
I'm impressed that you guys took the bus, though. When we published Empire of Debt, which came out in the fall of 2005, we were suspecting that if the housing and consumption bubble were to collapse, if housing prices were to go down, it seemed inevitable, that so many people had tailored their spending habits and their borrowing habits to the rising value of homes, it was going to cause first what we call a balance sheet recession among banks because they wouldn't get the loans back. And then you have this other derivative problem where you have mortgage-backed securities and then the CDO market and all that built on top of it. We were suggesting that that would be where the stress fractures would begin in the economy back in 2005. And we did. We sent the book to every member of Congress at their home addresses. And we got, maybe 100 responses back where they were thanking us for the gift. They didn't respond to the issues in the book, and basically I think it confirmed something that we have believed for a number of years anyway, is that markets make opinions. People wanted the housing market to go up forever. House of Representatives did an investigation in 2005 following a paper that was published on their own website showing that the risk, the derivatives risk that both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac had exposed themselves to was potentially a disaster for the mortgage market. And they buried that paper and fired the guy who wrote it. So they were well aware of what was going on in 2005, but the market for mortgage-backed securities continued for 2 more years. They could have put the brakes on there.
There seems like there's a distinct lack of responsibility across the board.
It wasn't just Congress. I think the American people wanted it as well. The sort of the mob mentality. We all thought we could get rich by spending more than we take in, and that was pervasive in Congress, in corporate America, in the banking world, in everyday families' lives.
The issue of the debt and the deficit run in cycles, and we went through a cycle in which people really turned a blind eye towards it, decided that we had other things that were of greater consequence, such as the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and that we didn't need to worry about the debt and the deficit. There is very, very little short-term reward for doing the fiscally responsible thing. And in fact, that was one of the great things about the moment back when we were younger around Ross Perot and Leader Leave and a number of other organizations.
Panel number 4 is Robert Lukefar, member of the Third Millennium Board of Directors, and John Cohen, co-founder of Leader Leave.
As the chart on my left shows, almost twice as many young people believe in UFOs as believe in Social Security.
That is not encouraging, Mr. Lukefar.
It actually changed the political dynamic so that you were rewarded in the short term for being fiscally responsible. And that's in fact the core of what we were trying to do, is to change, rather than complaining and bitching about the political dynamic, to actually change it so that politicians who were willing to get ahead of the curve, have some courage, actually take the risk of being fiscally responsible, will be rewarded for that even in the short term.
This is the beginning of a process to bring the deficit down permanently. This plan is real, it's credible, and it's doable. There is no alternative. There is no alternative.
There is no, as they say, there is no perfect crime. There is no airtight package. There is no mechanism that'll force the Congress to do what I think the American people wants it to do.
And we need to prepare now for the budgetary needs of the baby boom generation. I am proud of the first steps we have taken in this balanced budget plan.
Putting our nation's fiscal house in order has been my highest priority throughout my career. At long last, it appears we're going to accomplish that goal.
And if you don't make it so that they can get reelected by doing the right thing, it's a hell of a lot harder for them to do the right thing.
I mean, you put together an $800 billion package in a short period, it can't be well thought out projects.
Say we can't spend our way out of this. What does the scenario look like on the other side?
Just the spending that's already been approved is going to have a tremendous increase on the debt ratio, certainly over 60% it'll be going to. And also, we were already in an environment where we knew we were going to have particularly rising public health care expenditure, and that was going to demand an increase in federal tax revenues. And now we're adding this debt burden on top, which is going to further have to increase future tax rates.
You know, we've had this phrase being thrown around, we need the stimulus package to get the economy back on track. And that's kind of the buzzword, back on track. But if we were on the track that was leading to bankruptcy in the first place, why do we want to get back on it? We went off the rails because it was a false prosperity to begin with. You know, I look at the making of the film. It took 2.5 years to make, and it's like a nostalgic period. Oh, remember when the deficit was only $450 billion? Like if you asked a 5-year-old, if you take in this much money and you spend this much money, most people understand that ultimately that's going to be a disaster. But somehow in macroeconomics and in policy making, you know, a little injection of voodoo and somehow it makes sense and people start voting for it.
It's like, you really want to believe in Santa Claus.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And then making policies following this. Most people say, aren't you discouraged? And for the most part, I'm absolutely fascinated that people can behave this way and still respect themselves.